He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. This is Psalm 40, verse 2. We did verse 1 last time, where the psalmist waited patiently and God heard him and listened to him. And here he explains more about what God did. And there's a good lesson, or several lessons really, for those of us who believe in God, believe God, and cry out to Him and wait for Him. First of all, the psalmist talks about the situation he was in. He says, He brought me up out of a horrible pit. And the picture here is a cacophony of noise, a hole, a cistern, a pit where the psalmist had gotten himself into. And it reminds me of so many people who come to our church, to our ministry, and within a few minutes of talking to them, you realize they are in this horrible pit. After years of bad choices, of sin, consequences, of doing all the wrong things, their life is a horrible mess. He then says that the Lord brought him out of the miry clay, and this speaks of that kind of, quicksand situation where you're in this miry, mucky mess. You can't get away from your problems. You're stuck. You're unable to do anything to get out of this. And you come to God and you cry out to God. You wait on God and you see Him bring you out. Now that happens at salvation, as I mentioned in that context before, but also in our lives as believers. Sometimes life just gets so crazy busy and seems like out of control, and maybe we help that to happen. And sometimes we have to just stop and say, Lord, I need you. I'm going to wait until you show me what to do and how to get out of this. And when we reach that point of utter dependency, in that context too, we will see God work. We will see Him act. He always listens to His children, and He always works in our lives. It says that He set my feet upon a rock. What is that? Well, that's just an absolute contrast to what He was in. He was in that messy, miry, loud, noisy pit of despair, and God set him up on a rock, on a clear, easy to see, solid chunk of mountain. And it refers to not a pebble or a stone, but a solid chunk of rock. And God will put us on there if we will wait on Him and let Him do that. He says, He established my goings. In Spanish it says, He firmed up my steps. And that's exactly what it means. He established my steps, my goings, my progress, my plan. He put me back on course. And that's what God wants to do. And we get ourselves sometimes into all kinds of messes because we stray from waiting on Him and walking with Him. He established His goings. We see the Lord work in our context now here on earth, but it also has a greater fulfillment, because we see ourselves tied down on this earth to our sin-cursed situations with bodies that are messed up by sin, and our surroundings and the society and everything, and it's just a big loud mess many times. You look around at the world and that's what you have, is a bunch of noise that doesn't get anybody anywhere that matters. And we have the promise that God will set us on the firm, solid ground of the heavenly city and the heavenly hope that we have, the heavenly inheritance will not be this messy, miry, swampy, noisy disaster that we see around us that has come about, it has grown into that ever since the Garden of Eden. So wait patiently, correctly, properly on the Lord, and He will come through for you in your immediate context, and of course as believers in the ultimate context as well. I'll read it again and we'll end with that. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. God bless you. Goodbye.